This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. The Cincinnati Bengals, and in a weird exchange of events, that might be the most meaningless thing that happened to the Cleveland Browns today. Yes, they lost the football game. Hell, they even lost the division football game to a division rival. But it really didn't matter. That had no effect on what the Browns' outcome for the playoffs was going to be, because the only game that really mattered in any way to the Cleveland Browns was the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Tennessee Titans game, where the Jaguars have lost. We'll make fun of the Jaguars for a little bit here, but first I just want to kind of look at the box score of this Browns game and kind of just go over it real quick, just so we have a cursory kind of idea of what happened here. The spark notes of this game are flat out, Jeff Driscoll should probably never play it down for the Cleveland Browns again. Now, he was in a tough spot, backup offensive line, going against the Bengals starters. It was a rough spot for him. I understand that, but like, there was just nothing there that suggested to me that there's any reason to keep him active for a single game this year. And I hope that PJ Walker's the backup, because man, I didn't have the most faith in PJ Walker in this offense as the backup, but I certainly have more faith in him than Jeff Driscoll, the way Jeff Driscoll performed today. It was a bad performance. Now, again, I don't want to overreact to it because he was put in a terrible spot, but it's not like Jeff Driscoll has like this great record that would make me want to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? He went 13 of 26, 166, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Shout out to David Bell, who had 68 yards and 2 touchdowns today, which I do believe that brings David Bell 99 yards. Well, no. That brings David Bell to reaching the expectation I had for him. Forgive me, I got to look at it. Nope. My base expectation for David Bell was 250 yards, and he is only at 167 and 3 touchdowns. So, hit the touchdown goal. He hit the touchdown goal, but I mean, it's kind of meaningless how he hit the touchdown goal. So yeah, David Bell under expectation still after this video. So unfortunate, but hey man, good for him. Got 2 touchdowns. He'll always have that game to kind of look back on, have those highlights, no matter how his career goes, good or bad. Cedric Tillman went out in a kind of a scary play. It looked like he got a concussion. He was kind of asleep, like he just was out. It's kind of scary too. That's the second wide receiver we've seen in that situation. Guys like Elijah Moore were active today, but did not play. A lot of guys were active technically, but did not play. Like the Browns truly played none of their starting players. Like it was kind of remarkable. I'm going to try to go through the depth chart here to tell you where these guys were on the depth chart when they played. So Jeff Driscoll played, who I would have to imagine at this point is behind PJ Walker. So that's a third stringer. For most of the game, it was Pierre Strong. Then Pierre Strong got injured. He hurt his back. So I would have to imagine that they were not trying to play Jerome Ford most of this game. Amari Cooper did not dress nor played. David Bell played. Elijah Moore dressed, did not play. Marquise Goodwin dressed. No, he was out. My bad. He was inactive. James Prochet played. Cedric Tillman played. Harrison Bryant and Jordan Atkins played. David Njoku dressed, did not play. Garyon Christian played for a little bit. I think Watson was in there for the most part, Leroy Watson. None of the starting offensive linemen played, and James Hudson did play in this one. Defensively, it was even more bare because that's where they're more healthy. They just decided to just not play a bunch of guys. So Obo played for a little bit, but it was mainly Isaiah McGuire, Siaki Ika, a little bit of Shelby Harris, who got hurt but came back, Alex Wright and Sam Kamara in this game. So, and Jordan Elliott played a little bit too as well. Linebackers wise, it was Muhammad Diabite, Jordan Kay, and I think Tony Fields that played a ton in this game. Denzel Ward didn't play. I believe he dressed but didn't play. It was Martin Emerson dressed, didn't play. It was just Khalif Alisi, DeAnthony Bell, and a bunch of dudes you've never heard of. Like guys I didn't even know were on the team, to be honest with you, played today. Like 31 was on the team today. So the Browns did not play anywhere close to their starters today. I know that there are some people who feel like you're going to carry over momentum or carry over setting the tone from game to game. I would like to remind people that if you go back 10 years, 3 teams have lost week 17 or the last week of the season and been fine, won the Super Bowl afterwards. The idea of carrying over momentum from game to game is just not a real one. Momentum is created within the game itself. If just because you play good the week before does not carry over into the week after. We've seen this plenty of times where the Browns play good in one game, they play the next game, they don't play good, and we're like, what happened, right? The momentum doesn't carry over from game to game. Momentum carries over from play to play, right? And that is within the game itself. So, you know, Joe Flacco and the starting unit's offensive momentum, that's all going to be determined based on how the offense comes out and sets the tone in that game, not what they did in week 18. If the Browns win against the Houston Texans, if they lose against the Houston Texans, it's going to be based on what they do in that game, not because of something that they did in week 18, which was the goal of today, right? The goal of today was to make sure that the result of next week's game has nothing to do with anything that happened in this week's game, right? You don't want to be sitting here like, man, if we had Joe Flacco, man, if we had Myles Garrett, man, if we had this guy, and blaming your loss for the wild card weekend on week 18. That's what the goal was for the Cleveland Browns. We want to make sure that nothing that happens next week can be blamed, positive or negative, on what happened this week. And they accomplished that goal because nobody major got hurt. I know Pierre Strong and Cedric Tillman got hurt, but Pierre Strong and Cedric Tillman are not significant parts of this offensive attack. They are very, very minor parts of it. We're never going to sit here and be like Cedric Tillman and Pierre Strong not being healthy or why we didn't win a game or lose a game. So you accomplished the goal. The goal was to make sure that you have nothing lingering next week to where you're like, hey, we would have won this game if this thing didn't happen in week 18, right? That's the goal. So I know some people are more superstitious than others. They believe that you can carry over this momentum, but football is a sport. Sports have actual things. They're not just completely superstitious, like in plays and momentum, all of that stuff is real, but they come within the actual structure of a game itself. Again, what is momentum in sports? Momentum is energy. How do you create energy on a football field? You create energy on a football field by executing plays. When you execute plays, you have more energy that appears as momentum. When you don't execute, you don't have energy, you don't have momentum. Execution creates momentum. So if you want to create momentum for the Browns, you have to execute well on the football field. That's number one. So as far as this game goes, now really tripping over it, let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans game, because I just found this game to be kind of hilarious. One, I do think we need to have a serious reevaluation of where we are with Trevor Lawrence and his status in the NFL. I understand a lot of people still look at Trevor Lawrence as a can't miss number 1 overall pick. I don't believe that perception of him is valid anymore. Now, there have been examples of this in past NFL years. Sam Darnold was somebody who was looked at as a top prospect in his draft class. It was kind of a shock that Baker Mayfield went because a lot of people felt like Sam Darnold was the obvious choice. An even more significant parallel to what I think Trevor Lawrence is right now is Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston For those of you who do not remember, who were not around in 2013 especially, Jameis Winston was the original Trevor Lawrence. He was this freshman phenomenon who showed up at Florida State as a redshirt freshman, not a true freshman like Trevor, but a redshirt freshman, and took Florida State to a national championship, and they were undefeated. They lost one game with Jameis Winston there. That was the Rose Bowl versus Oregon in the college football playoff. And it was seen that Jameis Winston was one of the most pro-ready quarterback prospects since Andrew Luck. He already played in a pro-ready system. He was a genius with the football in his hands. Sure, he had the off the field kind of immature stuff with you could look up Jameis Winston and some of the weird antics he got into, from stealing crab legs, which I thought was ridiculous that people made that big of a deal out of. I remember some people were mad at him for like stealing Sprite out of Burger King, where I'm like, dog, first of all, they got Sierra Mist. Second of all, everybody do that. But, some people were mad at him for stealing soda from fast food places, to some more serious things that Jameis was accused of, or Jameis got caught doing that was just straight up inappropriate for somebody who's looking to be a number one overall pick. So all those things aside, Trevor has none of that. But on the football field, he is the original Trevor Lawrence, because Jameis came into the league and we didn't know what to make of Jameis pretty much his whole rookie deal. And now he's a backup. And I look at Trevor Lawrence, I'm like, I don't know what to make of you. Like, you're somewhere between Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, because his best season looks like a Baker Mayfield season. His worst season looks like Sam Darnold. Like, is he just an inconsistent quarterback? Will he be around in the league for a while? Like, is this Carson Wentz without the highs of Carson Wentz? There needs to be a serious reevaluation of him, because I think a lot of people are hanging on to that freshman year at Clemson take. I think a lot of people are hanging on to the highs of his tape at Clemson and his tape in the NFL, and not really looking at the whole thing, because there's a lot of people still holding on to that dream that Trevor Lawrence is going to just like turn into the next Andrew Luck or whatever it is that people dream Trevor Lawrence to become. And it's obvious to me that dream has a long while to manifest, if it ever is going to manifest. So that whole Trevor Lawrence thing is just something I want to talk about, because you got to reevaluate it. Now, there's a lot of things wrong with the Jaguars, but I'm sorry. If you're the quarterback, if you're the franchise quarterback of a football team that has a chance to get the 1 seed at one point, and you are the franchise quarterback, you play the Cincinnati Bengals with a backup quarterback, the Cleveland Browns with a backup quarterback, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and who else they lose to? They lost to Cleveland, Baltimore. Hey, Baltimore, I don't blame you for, right? But you lose all 3 of those games all in a row. And the only win you got during that stretch, since it was like, you were close to getting the 1 seed, all the games that you've won in that, the only game, that you won in that stretch was with a backup quarterback. Like, you didn't even play. Trevor Lawrence didn't even play in the one game that they won. How can I sit here and say that this is one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL? No other young quarterback would be afforded that. There are some quarterbacks right now that aren't even struggling as much as Trevor is, that aren't getting the benefit of the doubt that he gets. I think we need to let go of this dream for Trevor Lawrence, because it doesn't seem like it's happening. But that's just my thoughts on the Jaguars' whole situation. Like, yeah, I understand there's other things wrong with the Jaguars. They have some other things wrong with them. But the fact is, man, you had to win 2 games in like 8 games in a favorable stretch for the Jaguars, and you only won 1 of them. And the only game that you won was with a backup quarterback. It wasn't even with Trevor Lawrence. How can you sit there and have any confidence in Trevor Lawrence anymore? And he was not good in this game. In that last drive, where they went out, he missed a deep ball to Calvin Ridley that would have scored. He missed 2 first down opportunities on 3rd and 4th down on the last drive. He also threw 2 of the most costly interceptions of the game. He's not good. Like, I don't know what he turns into, but this is his 3rd year in the NFL, and you look at Trevor Lawrence and you say to yourself, he's not good. Usually when you're saying that about quarterbacks, they don't turn around. You can point to any outlier you want to, but when you say that about quarterbacks in their third year, they don't usually turn around. It's not early anymore with Trevor. It's not, oh, it's the coach with Trevor. Now we're talking about firing Doug Peterson, who we thought fixed him last year. But now we're talking about firing him because Trevor's not fixed. At some point, it might not be Trevor. I mean, it might not be the coaches. It might be Trevor that's broken. And maybe he was never that good to begin with. Because the more I watch Trevor Lawrence, the more I'm like, I think he was overrated. He looks overrated to me. This looks like an overrated player. So that's the Jaguars. Now the Browns going to have a tough task against them with the Houston Texans. I have a ton of game prep for that. Going hopefully have my guy Cody on, who covers the Houston Texans, also covers the Rockets. So this is going to be an interesting conversation we have on both sides of that. I'm super excited for this matchup. CJ Stroud versus this Browns defense. How does this Browns defense match up? It's an opportunity for the Browns defense to show that they could put up a elite performance, not just on the road, but versus a very good quarterback. And this is a pseudo battle for coach of the year, right? Because whoever gets it will know by then, and then we can battle on who should have gotten it by the result of that game. But I'm excited for that matchup. That's going to be a great game. Browns versus Texans. Obviously, the Jacksonville Jaguars would have been an easier beat for the Cleveland Browns, but Houston, hey, look, you had success against that defense. That defense was healthy when you played it. You had success against it. But it's going to be a little bit hard to stop them defensively if you're the Browns defense, obviously. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. We all know what's going to happen here, but that's my thoughts on everything that happened. Pittsburgh somehow made the playoffs. I think it's kind of a side note. I don't think they're going to get past the first round. If they do, I don't see that as a bad thing for the Cleveland Browns. But yeah, Pittsburgh made the playoffs. So 3 AFC North teams got in, and also all the AFC North teams over 500 for the first time in a while. So that's my thoughts on this weekend. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.